Hello and welcome. On today's episode we're going to be looking at the differences between the old sovereign cornets and the newer sovereign cornets. And we're doing this because I actually happen to have access to both of these. On the one hand, I have a cornet from my own collection. This is an early model sovereign cornet. And on the two hand, I have this cornet here, which is the later model sovereign cornet. It's interesting to observe iterative changes in the manufacturing of an instrument. I mean, it's very obvious when you go from one brand to another what the changes are and the differences between the instrument. But to see the same model of instrument gradually evolve is, to me at least, and hopefully to at least some of you, is interesting. So let's start with the logo side of things. These instruments are both manufactured by the Boozy and Hawkes sort of interest. For the old model sovereign, they've used what's called the round stamp model, and this actually says manufactured by Boozy and Hawkes. Whereas on the newer cornet, they decide to brand this as a Besson instrument. It's still the same company, but they brand it differently. And so this one, we just have text on here. It just says Besson London Sovereign, Boozy and Hawkes, England. This is a 928 model. And I think this one is a 921. It doesn't actually say the model number on here, other than the fact LB for light bulb or large bore. So that's what the brand looks like. Now these round stamp models are actually known as the round stamp sovereigns. I've got a trombone as well that's got the same logo on it. And so that's the first key difference. The second thing that some of you might have already noticed is that the pinky is a ring. The pinky holder thing is a ring on this on the older instrument, whereas on the newer instrument you've got a pinky hook. So that's one of the obvious visual differences. Some of the less obvious visual differences is with the placement of the water keys between the two instruments, and also the lyre holders. On the old cornet you've got a third valve water key that rests under the valve like this, and it's very similar to the main water key here. The problem with this design is that when you go to release water from within the instrument, it goes everywhere. And also where the exit port for the water key is, that's not actually where most of the water resides. So when I play this instrument, I am forever trying to get rid of build up liquid inside it. It's a real pig of a thing to try and keep empty. Whereas on the new cornet, they have made some changes to how they've done it. They have the third valve water key at the end of the valve, and they've got the main tuning slide, or the main water key at this part of the crook. So the water keys are facing different ways, and they are in slightly different places. And you may be able to see that if I hold the cornets up thusly. The next difference that you'll actually notice quite substantially as a player is the changes that they've made to the first valve, the first tuning slide trigger. So we have got triggers on the first tuning slide to be able to adjust the length of that as we play. But on the old cornet, you'll see that the lever for this is canted off to the player's side, so that you can only really play it with the thumb of the right hand. Whereas on the new cornet, on the newer model cornet, they've got the same first tuning slide trigger, but it's centrally located. This means that you can play it either with the thumb of the left hand, or you can easily reach it with the thumb of the right hand. It gives the player some choice. The third valve, on the other hand, you've got a lever on the newer cornet. And on the older cornet, you have got a ring, just a finger ring to be able to articulate it that way. If we have a look at the valves, however, we've got a few more differences. This is the valve out of the newer model cornet. We have got just a standard, what I think is stainless steel barrel here. We've got a brass part at the top, and that's hiding an internally located spring, and we've got a nylon stop for that spring. On the older style cornet though, we've got what I think is the same metal for the barrel of the valve here, but we've got the spring externally visible, and we've got a different type of instead of it being a nylon bar through it, we've got a complete circular bit there that retains the slide positioning lock. or the valve positioning lock. So you can see the differences. Also, there's a difference in colour due to the age of the Cornet between the two. But the holes are in exactly the same place, the size of the valve appears to be exactly the same, and I dare say that I could probably swap them around if I really wanted to. The differences from a playing perspective are not particularly dramatic outside of the obvious improvements that they've made with the location of the water keys and the change that they made to the orientation of the first valve tuning slide trigger. When you actually go to play the instrument, the valves feel very similar. They're not particularly heavy, but they're reassuringly solid and they feel nice under the fingers. If you play the new model of Sovereign Cornet for a period of time and then go to the older model, you will immediately notice, even though it's quite subtle, the added resistance through the internal parts of the instrument, and I don't exactly know what causes that, whether it's just the quality of the metal, the quality of the workmanship, or some other subtle changes that they made, but that difference is still very subtle. As a reward for my waffle as I talk about these two different instruments, I will now play you a little bit of an extract out of whatever it is that I've got on my stand at the moment. If this sort of style of video interests you, then please let me know in the comments and I may be able to do other ones. If no one's interested, then let me know too, and I won't do any more. Thanks for watching.